So what we're going to do is we're going to spread that out. Note, there's a couple of things that don't exist. Obviously, this primary text does not exist, and the name does not exist. So what we're going to do is, it looks like the requirement heading here is actually your primary text heading. So we'll go ahead and just name that the primary text. Category, as we noted before, is spelled incorrectly. So we're going to go ahead and change that to category, subcategory. And I think that's it. Artifact type, category, subcategory, and then we insert our name. So go ahead and we'll put the name, and that's the name of the requirement. And also, yeah, the system requirement is missing an E. So we'll go ahead and say, because requirement is not a requirement type, we'll say system requirement. So these must exist. So what we, first of all, when we make these changes, it's very, very important to save them. And again, I've created a video or two and forgot to save, so I'm doing this so that it's smooth. So if we look at our project properties, component properties here, note that the artifact types, system requirement, and Wade's requirement exist. Note also that if you do not have the correct attributes, it will come back with an error. So we've got category I have added. I can put a description in here, a description or a new field that identifies category per our environment. And we'll go ahead and also go down. We added cancel. We're going to go back and make sure that we save. And then we'll go to our subcategory, and that exists. And we'll do the same thing. We'll put a little description in here, the subcategory. So we'll save that. Now note that, oh, you know what? I need to edit that. Let's see if I can edit that. Can I edit that? I can, but it's going to be a new one. So let's say subcategory. There we go. Now we'll save that. Now let's see if it included. There we go. Subcategory. Now what we've done is we've identified all of these properly. We've got it as a string type, and that's all good. Now it's important to note that once we've got our attributes in, we must also go in. Let's go ahead and remove that because we had them before we modified them. We'll go ahead and add the attribute of subcategory. And now we have our requirement. Wade's requirement has that. Remember to save it. We go back to our system requirement, and we have to do the same thing, subcategory. So those are there. All right, so we now have the attributes are available to the artifact types that we need, and we have all the types and attributes that we need at this point. So now let's go back into our project artifacts, and we're going to create and import that artifact. So we'll go ahead and import the spreadsheet. And it should come through fine. I think we've got all our spelling. There we go. So one thing that we'll note is, first of all, we've only got the one requirement. So if we look at our document there, we've only got our one requirement in there, and that's fine because this is a sample. We'll note here that our columns on our project view don't align with our columns on our spreadsheet. So why don't we do this? We'll go into views first, because when we're looking at our project here, we want to be able to save our view, not just use the default folder view. So let's go ahead and create a view that shows the fields that we want to see. So we're going to go in and configure columns to display. We know we don't need modified by. We know we don't really need to see modified on. We do need name, artifact type. We also need to see our primary text. We need to see our category. and we need to see our subcategory. Right? Now, the other thing that we need to think about, so at this point we can go ahead and save this view, and we're going to call this our import view. And we're going to make that our preferred view. All right. Now, the one thing that we do see here is that all we've got now is the information from that spreadsheet. We can add other information into that as well. For example, if we want to add new fields, we can go in and add those new fields, such as owner. We can come in here and say, all right, I want to add the owner field in here. So I'm going to go ahead and select owner. And from the owner field, now I'm going to save that view as well. And import view, we've got, so that's our import view. So now on our import view, we've also got an additional field called owner, but we don't have anything in it. Now our spreadsheet also does not have an owner field, and this is what's important. Note that our spreadsheet here has some fields and it has our requirement there, but it doesn't have an ID and it doesn't have the owner. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and minimize that, and now we're going to select all requirements. In this case, it's only the one, and we're going to export that. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and export that view, or export that artifact to a CSV, and I'm going to save that file. This view actually exported in just a matter of seconds, but here's what it looks like. We'll go ahead and open that. We can minimize that, we can close that view rather. And now if we look at our exported view, note that our exported view looks a little bit different from our downloads view, which is good. It's what it's supposed to. Now, we don't need this metadata and all this other information that it exported. What we do want to see, though, is that these other fields now are usable separately. So we have our name. That's our name. We have our category, and everything on our spreadsheet now aligns with the view that we have on our project, but we have our additional field. Now we can go in and we can actually modify this new document, and we can add additional requirements. But more importantly, we can modify requirements. Now, the ID field only matters. At this point, we don't need this. We only have our export CSV. So we're going to go ahead and we can close this because we're done with this for now. This is the original document, but we've created a new document. We'll save that. The new document now has our information in a little bit more perfect form. At this point, we still don't need our ID. We can come in and say the owner. Now the owner is the user name, not the owner ID. It's not KWT like my owner ID here. It's an actual user name. We can add new requirements. We can say requirement 2, requirement 3. Let's just say requirement 2 for now. We're going to call this a wage requirement. Primary text, we're going to say this is a demo requirement. Category, we can make the category anything we want. New category, and we'll just call it, wheels, say wheels. Subcategory will be hubcaps. And the owner is, again, it has to be an existing owner. So we're going to go ahead and make that me. So now we've got 2 requirements. One has an ID. Both of them now have an owner. We're going to save that document. And now our export CSV will go ahead and we'll use that for going forward. Now note that there is no owner on the existing file, 470.862. Let's go ahead and import that exported file. Export CSV. And when we import that document, note a couple of things are going to happen. Once that imports, now we're going to be able to see that we have added owners, and not only have we modified the first one, we've added a second requirement. It has assigned an ID. Now we can do one of two things. We can either come in here and we can export this again so we get that information, but the only thing we really need is that number. So we're going to take that number, and because it's only incremented by 1, because it looks like nobody else was in the system, we'll go ahead and just increment that number. And we'll change that ID to a 3 now. All right, and now we've got an additional requirement. We've got our IDs, and now what we're going to do is show you the other piece of information that you had asked about, and that is adding streams. And that's kind of a very important topic. I am in a demo stream right now. At this point in time, I can go in, and I've been actually working in a different stream for a while, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a stream from that stream, and I'm going to call that stream, we're going to call it the variant stream. All right, and this is demo, a variation on the stream related to the imports. Okay, so we'll save that, we'll create that stream, and now we're in the variant stream. All right, now if we look at our stream here, we are in a different view. We can go back to our import view, and now we can see that our exact information from our previous stream exists. So let's go back, and we'll go ahead and switch. And it's also important to understand that our requirements, basically, we're just in requirements management. And that's the only things that we're looking at right now is the requirements management configuration. Global configuration would include external projects like testing or workflow. So from the requirements management configuration, we have a demo stream and a variant stream. Now let's go ahead and go back to our demo stream. And we can come into this. Let's go ahead and go into our requirement here, and we can add a link to that. So let's go ahead and look at this, and we're going to link this, say, to Google. We're going to go and we're going to say, in addition to this, this is a link type, and this is just going to be an external link to. All right, we're going to create an external link to. It's going to not be in the component. It's going to be in the web. And I'm going to say that this link goes to Google. And the URL for that link is going to be https://www.google.com. All right. Now we have a link. Now at this point, we have our link in our document. We could link there. We could go to the different link. It's going to go outside of the document. So we could do that. In fact, we could go ahead and link to it. It'll take us right to our Google page. But now that we're back in our document, we're going to go back and we're going to look at our links. In our view, we still basically, at this point, we still have a link. We can show our links somewhere, but that's the difference. But if we go back now into our variant stream, that because we created that after we created the stream, that requirement does not have that link anymore. So the links are specific to the variants that they're on. That's important to understand. Now, in addition to that, let's go ahead and we'll import the new a new document, or rather additional requirements. Did we add anymore? So we're going to say requirements 3 and 4, and then we're going to say another requirement. Third requirement, fourth requirement, primary text. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to exit that, and these are both going to be weighted requirements. Sorry. These are the primary text. Category, we're going to say wings, and instead of wings on the next category, we'll leave that wings 2, I guess. And subcategory will be, I don't know, propellers and paint. And I'll own both of those again. Silly category, silly information, but still. We'll go ahead and save that. And again, note, IDs are not there. The next one should be the next one in line. So now that we've saved our document, we are in our variant stream. We'll import that document again. Again, same document. We're now working with our document. We can modify that any way that we want. Import it, export it in either direction, and it'll go back. So, or rather, it'll copy to the other direction. So at this point now we have our 4 requirements. Requirement 1, 2, 3, 4. We have wage requirements. And if we go into that and we look at our views, into our import view, we'll note all of that information has transferred through. Now, if we come in here and we now go back to our demo view, we'll note that we still only have our original 2 requirements, because we have not modified our original view. Now, at this point, I could create a 3rd stream. Now, remember, we've got in our requirement 2 our link, our Google link. At this point, because that exists in our stream, we can come in and create a new stream from the demo and call this one variant 2, and to show the links. Now that we've got our variant 2, we're creating our new stream. It's identifying all the information. But note that in our variant 2, because that link already existed, note that our link also exists in our variant 2. So that's pretty much what I wanted to show you today. Is basically all of our information here. If we go ahead and close that up, we note that we're missing stability node origin because we didn't have those columns. All we would have to do is come back into our primary document and add those columns now. We could go in and add it to new requirements. We could put stability and origin in all of them. And each time we import, if we import the original document into this with those modifications, we'll see that. Also, the thing that I wanted to stress was the views. If you want to see the information that is in your spreadsheet, in the way the spreadsheet shows it, you need to create a view. And it's important that if you're in the folder view to begin with, I'm sure there's a way to save this view. In fact, if I go in here and stretch that out, it's probably a way to save that. And I'll have to look into that. I don't know of a way right off the top of my head. But the way to save a view once you've saved columns and moved columns around is to go into the views column right here and then save that view once you've configured it the way you like it. That's actually very important, because if you set this view up under the folders area here, it's not going to retain that. When you close it and open it back up, it'll just go back to that original view. In fact, it may do it if I do it right now. Nope, it's working now. So just be aware of that. Like I said, a couple of things. Make sure that your spelling's right in your category, in your attributes, and matches your spreadsheet. You don't have to have all the fields in your original spreadsheet. You can add fields once you get into the project and then export them back, and then use the new exported spreadsheet if you'd like as your new original. If you want to modify in the project and save that as a spreadsheet and then go manipulate the spreadsheet, that's just a matter of exporting all of those columns that you want to see, that you want imported, export those to the spreadsheet. The initial requirement does not need an ID, because once you add that in, it's going to come back in and add that. It's going to add your ID to your requirement once you import that. And then that ID, if you're going to re-import it, you're going to need to go ahead and add that new ID if you export that. So again, as we had said before, once you open it up, the default view back there comes with what it had there, with all the modified date and all that. So you need to save your view. If you got any questions, again, send me an email. I'd be more than happy to create more demos or walk you through stuff and help you out with your demo that you're creating. Have a good one. Bye.